Hi everyone, it's really lovely to be with you. Nick and I are recording today in St Andrew's Church, and we've got an assembly for you today, all on the subject of forgiveness.
I wonder if you have broken anything recently. I have. Look at this. A broken cup. Some people say that I've got the clumsy gene because I'm always breaking things. I've got lots of things here that are broken actually. Let's have a look. Hop on over there. See, what about the cup? How would you mend the cup? Super glue. I know that works. I've done that before. Then, what about the sock? I wonder how many of you end up with holes in your sock sometimes. What would I use to mend that? A needle and thread. Let's put those two together. Oh, look at this. A ripped piece of paper. Well, of course, I could use some sellotape. That would fix it. What's that one there? What if I cut my knee? What if I cut my knee? I would need a plaster. There's a pretty big plaster for a pretty big cut. But what about a broken friendship? Could I mend that with sellotape, or a needle and thread, or a stick and plaster, or even super glue? I don't think so. I wonder what would help to mend a broken friendship. Chris, I think you've got a story there from Matthew's Gospel in the Bible. Let's hear the story that Jesus told and see what he might say about mending friendships.
This is a great story, and there's a bit for you to join in with as well. There's two phrases that I'd like you to repeat with me. When I say, I'm really sorry, I'd like you to repeat it after me. So can you do that? I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. And then the other phrase is, hey, that's okay.
Hey, that's okay.
So when I say those phrases, I'll repeat them and you can say them with me. And this story is called The Unforgiving Servant. Peter asks Jesus a question. If somebody hurts me, he said, and then they say, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. How many times should I forgive him and say, hey, that's okay?
Hey, that's okay.
Before Jesus could answer, however, Peter offered an answer of his own. He thought it would sound good. He thought it would sound big-hearted. He thought it would be the kind of thing Jesus would like to hear. Should I forgive him 7 times? It seemed like a lot of times to Peter, but Jesus was not impressed. No, answered Jesus, not 7 times, but 70 times 7 times. Peter did some quick sums, and that was a lot of times, a whole lot of times, more times than Peter had ever forgiven anybody. So Jesus told him a story. Once there was a king, and one of his servants owed him money. Not a little money, not lots of money, but loads and loads and loads of money. Millions and millions and millions more. One day the servant was brought before the king, and because he couldn't pay what he owed the king commanded that the man and his family should be sold as slaves. The servant fell to his knees. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry, he cried. Be patient with me, please. Just give me another chance. I promise I will pay back everything I owe. The king looked at his servant. He felt sorry for him. And then, much to the servant's surprise, the king smiled and said, hey, that's okay.
Hey, that's okay.
Then he called off the debt and set him free. The servant left the palace celebrating, and that's when he ran into another servant. Now this servant owed him money. Not loads of money, not a lot of money either, just a couple of coins, that's all. Did the first servant remember what the king had done for him? Not for a minute. He grabbed the second servant by the throat and he demanded to be paid. So the second servant fell to his knees. I'm really sorry.
I'm really sorry,
he cried. Be patient with me, please. Give me another chance and I will pay back everything I owe. But instead of saying, hey, that's okay.
Hey, that's okay,
the first servant had the second servant thrown into jail. Word of this got back to the king, and he was so angry that he had the first servant dragged before him again. When you came to me and said, I'm really sorry,
I'm really sorry,
I called off your debt, and I said, hey, that's okay.
hey, that's okay.
Why couldn't you do the same? And with that, the king had the servant thrown into jail until he could repay what he owed. Jesus looked at his friend. God is like that king. I'm really sorry.
I'm really sorry.
That's what we can say to him. More times than we can count. And even more times than that, he tells us. Hey, that's okay.
Hey, that's okay.
And all he really wants is for us to tell that to each other too. I'm really sorry.
I'm really sorry,
said Peter. I didn't understand. And Jesus just smiled and said,
Hey,
that's okay.
hey, that's okay. Thanks, Chris. Great story. I wonder what for you was the key word or the key idea in that story. What was it all about for you? What stood out for you? Just have a think about that for a moment. I think for me, one of the key things there was that phrase, hey, that's okay. And it was the storyteller's way of talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness. I wonder now, what does it mean for you to forgive someone? I wonder what that looks like in practice, what that sounds like. And I wonder what kind of things we need to say sorry for. I wonder what kind of things you might need to say sorry for. And what does that look like? And what would that sound like? At the end of that story, Jesus tells us that if we've done something wrong, we need to say sorry to God and that He will forgive us. And in a similar way, if we've fallen out with a friend, I think two things are often needed. Firstly, if I know that I've done something wrong and upset somebody, I need to be brave enough to say sorry to that person. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. And then, if I'm the person to whom somebody is saying sorry, then I need to forgive. And in the words of that story, I need to say, hey, that's okay. Hey, that's okay. So going back to our question at the beginning of the assembly, What might I use to mend a broken friendship? I would say the answer is not superglue or sellotape or needle and thread or even a stick and plaster. The answer is forgiveness. Chris?
Just as we finish, I've got just a little prayer. If you'd like to make it your prayer, say amen at the end. Dear Lord, thank you for today's Bible story about forgiveness. Thank you that if we say sorry to you, you give us a fresh start. Please help us to be a forgiving people here in this school. Amen. Great, well, it's been great to be with you. I hope you remember those phrases about being sorry and, again, offering forgiveness. And hopefully we'll be back soon for another assembly.
Yeah, and we're going to play out today with a song that's going to get right in your head and remind you of saying sorry and forgiving.
I'm so sorry, please forgive for what I do. If I hurt you in the playground, please know I did not mean to. We all make mistakes, but mistakes can make us better. If we let them teach the lesson, we can choose a better way. F, you are my friend. Oh no, I've done it again. I'm really, really, really sorry. I'm gonna give it another go. I forgive you. B, I see you're very sorry. E, everybody can live happy if we forgive. I'm so sorry, I was jealous, but now I realize I am not your only friend, so you should play with who you like. F, you are my friend. Oh no, I've done it again. R, I'm really, really, really sorry. G, I'm gonna give it another go. I forgive you. V, I see you're very sorry. E, everybody could live happy if we forgive. Happy if we forgive. Forgive. Forgive.
See you next time.
Bye.